CNBC TV18 and Autodesk present the CEO Sphere, Leadership Voices Building India's Future.
The growth of India is far accelerating the current infrastructure that India has.
We cannot just rely on our natural advantages to continue to have that growth, and that goes for any city.
It's going to be important for organizations to build very resilient and adaptable infrastructure in the urban environment.
Anyone walking through one of our projects at any point in time should feel like it was designed for them.
Technology is going to help bridge so that we create more inclusive spaces.
If we don't figure out what is the long-term plan in terms of infrastructure planning, in terms of deciding how to do it in a more climate-friendly way, we're not going to really be able to make a big difference.
Hello and welcome to CNBC TV18 and Autodesk present the CEO Sphere, Leadership Voices Building India's Future. I'm Ridu Bhandari. For decades, India's growth story was measured in factories built, roads laid, and investments announced. Today, another question is becoming equally important. What kind of cities are we building? How do we build cities that attract talent, cities that create opportunity, cities that improve quality of life, and cities that remain sustainable for generations to come? To answer these questions and more, we are joined today by Pavitra Shankar, Managing Director of Brigade Enterprises, one of India's leading real estate developers with a presence across residential, commercial, hospitality, and mixed-use developments. And we are also joined by Haresh Khoopchandani, Vice President, Asia Pacific and Japan at Autodesk, whose work sits at the intersection of design, technology, and the future of the built world. Thank you, Haresh. Thank you, Pavitra, for joining us today. Pleasure having you here.
Great to be here.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Well, we are sitting in the beautiful city of Bengaluru. And Pavitra, you grew up watching this city and others where you traveled from the insides of a real estate business. Now, what's an assumption about urban growth that you believe India needs to rethink today?
I think we need to really understand that it doesn't just happen on its own. It does happen from governments encouraging businesses to come to the city by investing in infrastructure, by creating the right business environment. And while some things about Bangalore is naturally blessed with amazing weather and fantastic people, but it does need more help from the ecosystem at large to keep attracting business to come here, because that is what drives economic growth. So we cannot just rely on our natural advantages to continue to have that growth, and that goes for any city. While the destiny of many cities is set by their geography, in today's world, I don't think that is the one thing that you can just assume that's going to be there for its future success.
Right, absolutely. Haresh, now you've lived in different places as well. Currently, you're based out of Singapore. Technology is really reshaping the way we live, the way we work, the way we play. Now, if you were to think about the definition of a successful city, what would that mean to you?
It's an interesting question, right? Success is an ongoing evolution, because of changes and shifting needs and shifting perceptions and climate change, economic changes. So when you think about success, historically, it's really about more, building more buildings, building more roads, more infrastructure, right? But when you think about success today, in light of a lot of the change that is being driven by technology, it goes beyond that. Everyone's talking about, livability of a city. Everyone's talking about quality of life. They're talking about how does the infrastructure serve me? So success essentially is going to be a city that's, going to be adaptable, that can rise to the needs of changing shifts in the market, whether it's driven by climate, economic, societal. Increasingly success is going to be defined by how cities or countries start to adapt data and digital systems in how they think about planning, so that they can continue to adapt as evolution takes place.
Absolutely. Now, if we look at some of the numbers, whether it's GDP, manufacturing, infrastructure, urbanization, energy transition, India is on an upward trend on all of these things. India's urban story is often discussed through these numbers, through population, through housing, demand, through commercial space. But, you've witnessed small part of that through Bengaluru, the transformation that the city has seen over several decades now. So what has this city taught you about urban growth becoming successful? Like, what is really the mantra of successful urban growth, and what can go drastically wrong?
So Bangalore's been lucky because we can grow in all directions. In Bangalore, you can grow in concentric circles, and that has actually helped it to grow in a way where, despite a lot of demand, supply has been able to come in, and for decades, actually, the price growth in Bangalore is very stable. From our perspective, it helped us scale, it helped us learn how to do business with, by looking at margins very carefully, by doing right by the customer, because they do have choice in Bangalore from excellent developers. So from that perspective, that is one huge positive about Bangalore, is that there is the ability to grow. What has not kept up pace is the urban infrastructure investment and therefore the connectivity. So that is what's required if you really want to see the city continue to grow without so many of the pain points.
Harish, now when you look at some of the world's most admired cities on various parameters, most livable, you now have the happiness index and various other parameters, what separates places that simply expand from places that actually become truly livable?
The concept of expansion is, more roads, more buildings, population capacity growing and so on and so forth. Whereas the concept of livability is all of these more, does it actually improve the quality of life? And I think that's the big difference. And successful cities don't treat these two as individual goals. They treat them in a more connected fashion. So these goals are mutually dependent on each other when they start to build out these cities. And how do they make the cities adaptable to changing needs is the other dimension that differentiates countries that actually do really well in how they think about building these cities.
Let's extrapolate that to business now. Pavitra, Brigade expanded beyond residential real estate into commercial, into hospitality, mixed-use developments, long before the others were doing it. Now, what gave you all the conviction to really break away from what is traditionally being done in the real estate market in India and go for this?
Well, that vision was driven by my father, who's the chairman of the organization, and he founded this organization. Actually, our first few projects were all commercial buildings. So those were done in the 80s in Bangalore, which again would have been a time where that was not the obvious choice for a private developer. But I think what's been at his core is that he's really understood where is the unmet need and what is the real demand on ground. So with the first few projects, he saw that in commercial space and some retail, and then he moved into residential. And what moved on from there is that we started to do more mixed use as well, because his vision and his understanding of what people wanted as cities grew and as Bangalore grew and as it became harder to get around the city and be connected and so on, was wanting to create this idealistic urban environment where you can live, work and play all within the same space or within the same neighborhood, which comes with good urban planning. But unfortunately, most Indian cities don't have good urban planning. So it was his way of creating that in some kind of microcosm and making it a better quality of life for the people who choose to live there. So we've had the wonderful privilege of doing more than 10 mixed-use developments, and each one is very special and different in its nature. And we've been able to do residential, office, retail, hospitality, hospitals, so healthcare, schools, entertainment, and with natural spaces as well, water, trees, and so on. So it's really been, I think that is what people actually want, and his vision is driven by that. And that's what we hope to continue to doing as our cities evolve.
Fantastic. Well, Harish, now you've worked with organizations trying to design and build for a future that doesn't yet quite exist, right? Now, how do leaders make long-term decisions in a world that keeps changing very, very fast? And, obviously you experience that on a daily basis, given that you are from the world of tech. How do you really take long-term decisions at that speed? And any lessons, any learnings that recent decision-making has taught you?
I think sometimes with a lot of difficulty. I have a healthy admiration for leaders like Pavitra and others who are at the helm running these large organizations, because the speed and the rate of change is remarkable. The environments are volatile. There's shifting perception, shifting needs, rising middle class. They want different things from an older generation. Mobility needs are changing. An aging population will creep in. That will require a different form of planning, and so on and so forth. But it's going to be important for organizations to build very resilient and adaptable infrastructure in the urban environment. And I think historically, they build a long-term plan, and then they execute against the plan. They tweak it, a little bit along the way. And that model is, I think, gone. I think more and more now, leaders have to turn around and ensure that they are actually building infrastructure and cities that are adaptable to the changing needs. And that's where technology comes in. So the idea is to basically say, I will have a long-term plan, but I will have enough adaptability in my organizational culture, in the projects I make, in the people I invest in order for me to react to the different changes. So to have clarity of purpose, but to ensure you have flexible methods.
All right, we are going to take a short break right now, but coming up after that, smart buildings, flexible workspaces, sustainable cities, and the future of urban living. Stay with us. You are watching the CEO Sphere exclusively on CNBC TV18.
CNBC TV18 and Autodesk present the CEO Sphere, Leadership Voices Building India's Future.
Welcome back to CNBC TV18 and Autodesk present the CEO Sphere, Leadership Voices Building India's Future. Next up on the show, we are kicking off the Boardroom Challenge, in which our guests have to think on their feet. They will make quick one-word choices and then defend decisions in 30 seconds each. And contrarian views are more than welcome. All right, so let's get our first card up. And Pavitra, this one is for you first. Hybrid future of work, permanent shift or temporary phase, and why?
It's a permanent shift. Everyone has realized that you can have a better balance of your personal life and your professional life if you can incorporate hybrid. So I think it's something that also our future generations getting into the workplace are going to be quite focused and adamant that they want to incorporate into their life. So it's definitely here to stay, and we've just got to figure out how to incorporate that into our current environments.
Harish, what about you? Hybrid future of work, permanent shift or temporary phase?
Absolutely permanent shift. I'd love to disagree, but I totally agree. It's going to be a permanent shift for sure. When you think about the world we live in, it's a hyper-connected world, right? So, you want talent from all over the world. You want to provide people with optionality. So the ability to work from anywhere, anytime, at any place becomes super important. And work is essentially something you do, not a place you go to. So, technology is going to help bridge so that we create more inclusive spaces. And I think India has been a big beneficiary of this when you think about engineering service providers, for example, that are emerging out of India, collaborating with the world, and serving projects that are all across the different continents.
All right, let's move on to our next card then. And this one is Urban India 2040, opportunity or pressure point?
I guess since we're going to try and be a bit controversial, I'm going to say pressure point, because doing business in India and being an Indian, I think you have to naturally be optimistic that things are going to be better and life will be better in future. But there is an absolute pressure point today itself. So not even looking at 2040, but today itself. If we don't figure out what is the long-term plan in terms of infrastructure planning, in terms of deciding how to do it in a more climate-friendly way, in terms of ensuring that all of our citizens who live in cities or even rural India have clean water, clean air. What is the development for, really? It's all for us to enjoy our time that we have here. So I think that's absolutely required. And unless we look at it as a true pressure point for today and not for the generation of the future to solve, we're not going to really be able to make a big difference.
Absolutely. Harish, Urban India 2040, opportunity or pressure point?
Look, I'm an optimist. So for me, it is definitely going to be an opportunity, but I would agree that there will be pressure points along the way because the growth of India is far accelerating the current infrastructure that India has. So there will be pressure points as a result. But that creates a massive opportunity for India to rethink how they think about 2040 and how they think about designing and making a better India. And again, I come back to the core. This is where connected data, connected workflows, this is where technology will play a big part. So ensuring that Urban 2040 and the path to that has digital systems at the heart of how you plan, how you collect data, synthesize data, and ensure you're leveraging data to make better decisions, I think it's the opportunity that we have at hand. And it's an exciting time as a result, I think, to be in India, to be in the real estate space, and I think to be also in tech.
All right, so let me sum that up. Hybrid work is here to stay, and Urban India 2040 is both an opportunity and a pressure point. Moving on, now I'm going to put predictions in front of you. So tell me whether they will happen sooner, later, or never, and whatever you may choose, you have to defend it in a line or two. All right. So prediction 1 for Pavitra. Mixed-use developments become the dominant urban model.
Definitely sooner. I almost want to say yesterday, but definitely sooner because it needs to become more of the norm, as you said. There are many great examples, but again, absolutely required in order to ease the pressures of modern city living. Yeah, so definitely sooner.
Fair. Prediction 2 for Harish. Every major building project is designed and simulated digitally before the Bhumi Pujan or the construction begins.
Sooner. It's already happening today in India. There's some amazing use cases in India. And I think the ability to simulate upfront will help organizations make better decisions, whether you're simulating energy consumption, material optimization, or any other sustainability metrics.
All right. Well, time to move then to our final round, which is the rapid fire round. So as the name suggests, you have to think quickly, think on your feet. To make it more edgy and competitive, we are going to be timing you as well. Let's start with you then, Pavitra. One city you admire and why?
I think Tokyo, and a huge city with a massive population, but extremely well connected, very respectful of its citizens and people who are visiting.
One quality every next generation leader must develop.
Resilience.
A misconception people have about real estate.
That it is only about construction. It's a very creative space. It's about people, and it's not just about bricks and mortar.
One decision that you've changed your mind about.
The default business plan isn't always the best business plan.
All right. And finish this sentence. Great cities are built when?
Everyone comes together and does their own part without trying to point fingers and blame each other.
Fantastic. Well done, Pavitra. Let's see how Harish performs.
I'm feeling the pressure now.
All right. One design principle every leader should understand.
Design with intent. When you make better decisions up front, the outcomes are much greater and much better.
All right. One city getting urban innovation right.
Singapore.
What's harder, building products or building ecosystems?
Building ecosystems.
One capability future city leaders will need.
Adaptability.
All right. And finally, one thing India can do differently from the rest of the world in urban planning.
Make digital planning the foundation of urban development for the country.
All right. Well done, both of you. But before we close, now I want to end with a question about legacy. Because buildings may define skylines, but ultimately, like you said, they are about people, they shape lives. So Pavitra, when someone walks through a brigade development, let's say 20 years from now, what's the feeling that you want them to have, and what's the thought process that you want to leave them with?
Anyone walking through one of our projects at any point in time should feel like it was designed for them. So it should feel personal. That's very important. And also it should feel relevant. So that's regardless of which point in time they're in. And I know that seems very idealistic, but actually there are very core principles of design and being human that one can just pay attention to when we're putting forth our projects. And those will never change. So rather than focusing on what is going to be very different in, say, 20 years, it's really about what's not going to be different and what will people still want 20 years from now. So I think that's what we try to focus on today as well.
And Harish, if you were to pick up good design from what Pavitra just said, what's a principle of good design that could apply to buildings, to businesses, and to leadership as well?
The narrative that we live in today has been dominated by technology. And I think technology will help you make good decisions. However, I think good design will help you build resilience. And I think that's going to be really important because we're living in a world of change. And in order for us to live, operate, and thrive, good design will enable resiliency for everyone in all facets of life.
Well, Harish, Pavitra, absolute pleasure talking to you today. Thank you so much for your time, for your candidness, and for being such sporting participants while playing our rapid fire today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's fun.
Well, cities are more than concrete and steel. They are expressions of ambition, of culture, of possibility. And as India's urban story continues to unfold, the choices we make today will influence how generations live, work, and connect tomorrow. That's all we have on this episode of the CEO Sphere. Thank you very much for joining us. Until next time, it's goodbye.
CNBC TV18 and Autodesk present the CEO Sphere. Leadership Voices Building India's Future.